We're going to get right into it. The story about none other than Major George Tillery, also known as Major Tillery. Major Tillery will be the first person placed upon Philadelphia's most wanted list as soon as they made it. Have his name, image, and likeness dragged across multiple media, all a part of a grand scheme called Cointelpro. I'm asking everybody to be patient as Major's words were transcribed from an interview from the Movement magazine, and it's a computer reading his voice.
We're going to be looking at Major Tillery, who is a longtime fighter in the prison system for justice.
For 39 years of his unjust imprisonment, Major Tillery's main concern has been the welfare of others. There is a history of retaliation against Tillery, who has advocated for other prisoners throughout his years of incarceration. When Mumia Abu-Jamal was very sick at Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution at Mahanoy, Tillery confronted the superintendent, seeking care for Mumia. In retaliation, Tillery was transferred to Cy Frackville and put in the hole. He sued and won, and as a condition of his victory, he was transferred to Cy Chester, closer to his family.
And has used his skills to organize the defense of himself and other prisoners, including Mumia Abu-Jamal. Rachel Wilkenstein, who is an attorney who helped represent Mumia Abu-Jamal and now is focusing on Major Tillery. And what can people do who want to support his struggle for justice and to get out of prison so he can continue his life and be with his family and fight this frame up that he's been involved.
Talking about in terms of Major, who he is, what he's all about, his case, as well as his advocacy for other prisoners. And that gets signed, that gets sent to the district attorney's office to demand that his conviction be reversed and freed, and also to the Board of Pardons to grant his commutation petition, which would get Major out of prison at least, even though it's still on parole.
I lied when I testified at the trials of William Franklin in November in 1980 and of Major Tillery in May of 1985 for the murder of Joe House and attempted murder of John Pickens on October 22nd, 1976. I wasn't in the pool hall when Joseph Howells was shot and killed and John Pickens shot and injured. I wasn't anywhere near Joseph Howells and John Pickens when they were shot. I lied when I testified that Major Tillery and William Franklin were in the pool hall and shot Howells and Pickens. Everything I testified to in Major Tillery's trial and William Franklin's trial about witnessing the argument between Alpha Clark and Joseph Howells, threats made by Major Tillery against John Pickens, and the shooting at the pool hall a few days later was false. A testimony was made up, being questioned by the homicide detective Larry Gerard, Ernest Gilbert, and Lieutenant Bill Shelton, and being prepped by ADA Ross, Christie, and King to testify against Major Tillery and William Franklin. Detectives and prosecutors ADA Lynn Ross and Barbara Christie promised that if I said that Major Tillery and William Franklin were the shooters in the 1976 murder of Joe Howells and attempted murder of John Pickens, I wouldn't get state time in my many pending criminal case charges, and I wouldn't be charged in the murder of Samuel Goodwin. That I had nothing to do with. I was threatened that I would get maximum prison time if I didn't cooperate to get Tillery and Franklin. The detectives, with the knowledge and the direction of AGA Lynn Ross, Barbara Christie, and Roger King, promised me leniency, threatened me, and allowed me private time for sex with girlfriends and homicide interview rooms and hotel rooms. They didn't do that crime, and I didn't do the crime that I committed. The same thing I did to them, the DA did to me, and got somebody to lie. Tillery and Franklin did damn near triple the time that I did. The DA knows that they lied and got me to lie.
Could you give a brief overview of the police and district attorneys, DA, frame-up of you and the corruption they engaged in with your case? Major Tillery. As you know, I was a member of the Nation of Islam, NOI, the Nation, since 1968. In the late 1970s, under the leadership of Imam Warith Deen Muhammad, son of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we turned over from what we called the First Resurrection in the NOI to following Sunni Islam. I was never in the so-called Black Mafia, which the white press invented along with the term Black Muslim. I have never wanted nor have been inspired to be or copy off of white gangsters or any gangster. I grew up on the brotherhood of our religion, Islam. Yeah, I engaged in gang war when I was a young boy from the 49th and Woodland Avenue gang. But in my teens, in the 1960s, I became aware of America and black people's deplorable position here and wanted to do something positive about it. I mention that to say this, the state's jailhouse informant witness Emmanuel Clate explained, which I sent you the affidavit statement he made, and that's also on YouTube, how the DA's office and detectives hated me for my participation in the Nation of Islam and falsely accused me of being a member of the Black Mafia in order to convict me of a crime I didn't commit. You have to remember that the government's Cointelpro, the FBI's counterintelligence program, operation was going on at the time to destroy radical black organizations, and the Nation of Islam and its leaders were on that list to be neutralized. DA Barbara Christie and Roger King and Detective Lawrence Gerard played their part by setting up a lot of brothers and sisters in the early 1970s. I know you haven't seen the video of this lying witness Emmanuel Clate on YouTube, but you have this and Robert Mickens recanting sworn statements showing how the DA and detectives coerced and bribed the jailhouse informants with sex with their girlfriends while in police custody and with reduced sentences in their criminal cases, just to have them say what the DA wanted them to say for my conviction. Jailhouse informants Clate and Mickens, along with a lot of other informant witnesses, were recruited to be professional witnesses for the Philly Police Department and DA's office.
A better understanding of who Major Tillery is as a person, and that he is more than the man who saved Mumia Abu Jamal's life. Meet the man, Major Tillery.
Major. I've been in prison for 33 years now. I was sent to the Marion, Illinois Federal Prison by the PDOC in retaliation for filing the class action suit Tillery vs. Owens to help mentally ill prisoners and more. The PDOC never had a special needs unit, SNU, for the mentally ill until we won the Tillery vs. Owens lawsuit. I grew up in the 1960s with Edward Africa Goodman, of the MOVE organization, who lived next door to me and were best friends. He went and joined with MOVE and I joined the Nation of Islam. I have been sent to prisons all over the United States due to my political activism. The PDOC would trade me for other prisoners, the way they traded slaves. The reasons they gave for the transfers was that I had influence over other prisoners and was a threat to the Department of Corrections because of this. Because I fight for prisoners' human rights, I'm influential with prisoners, I'm a jailhouse lawyer, and I'm a man that demands respect and humane treatment in prisons. The PDOC have kept me in the control units in every state prison I've been to for over 20 years. I've watched men, known and unknown, die from the lack of human concern for prisoners by prison staff. Prisoners used to care for each other and force the prison staff to seek medical help for each other. Now, due to the lack of concern and the fear many of these new prisoners have for the whole, solitary confinement, they will step over each other and let you die. I saw Brother Mumia wasting away and explained to him he needed to go to the hospital. I really didn't know how disoriented and sick he was until I saw him in the law library. I then saw Superintendent John Karras on the block and explained to him that Mumia was in his 60s and needed emergency medical attention. He was deliberately indifferent to Mumia's medical situation and explained to me how I should worry about myself. I told him that Mumia was my business and that I was going to see to it that he gets the medical attention he needed. I then took action. I would have done the same for any prisoner that was in the predicament that Mumia was in. Because I fight for prisoners' human rights, I'm influential with prisoners, I'm a jailhouse lawyer, and I'm a man that demands respect and humane treatment in prisons. The PDOC have kept me in the control units in every state prison I've been to for over 20 years. I've had 12 misconduct reports against me in 33 years of imprisonment, yet I've been sent to out-of-state prisons more than any other Pennsylvania state prisoner. I know you haven't seen the video of this lying witness Emmanuel Clate on YouTube, but you have this and Robert Mickens recanting sworn statements showing how the DA and detectives coerced and bribed the jailhouse informants with sex with their girlfriends while in police custody and with reduced sentences in their criminal cases, just to have them say what the DA wanted them to say for my conviction. Jailhouse informants Clate and Mickens, along with a lot of other informant witnesses, were recruited to be professional witnesses for the Philly Police Department and DA's office. The evidence shows this. I hear the brothers my age always complaining about the young brothers not being shit. And my response to those old guys is the same. If young people ain't shit, then what does that make us? Because these are our children and grandchildren, so how can we separate ourselves from them? We're the ones that mistaught the young brothers and sisters out there in society, so that means we must not be shit either. They learned from us. And that's a fact we have to correct. The worst thing in life is an old fool who waits until he's 50 years old to be a gang leader. Man up. Until the day I walk free or get carried out this joint, I will fight for the rights of prisoners, our youth, and people who identify with our people's struggle for truth, freedom, justice, equality, and peace. Secondly, I wish to express my deepest appreciation for the help I received from Rachel H. Wokenstein, ESK, and Nancy Lockhart, who has investigated my case on mostly her own dime, and for their undying support. Rachel and Nancy believe in my innocence and were among the first to reach out to help prove my innocence and regain my freedom. I thank them both. I have a real chance to be free once more.
This guy, Roger King, who prosecuted Major and so many others, was so vicious. Right now, in University of Penn, the prosecutor misconduct part of the law